Hello and welcome back to our Let's Level Design series for our deathmatch inside of Unreal Tournament 4. Last time when we left off, we finished our paper map, so the next step in level designing is completing the rest of your pre-productions. So part 1 or part 2, depending on which order you do them in, because you could do this part first or you could do your paper map first, but I like doing the paper map first because it's more fun. Because you get to use Photoshop and you get to draw stuff, so it's fun for the whole family. So anyways, part 1 is creating the paper map. Part 2 is creating the rest of your pre-production, which is a textual description of your entire map, which includes your game type, the story, the gameplay, visuals, effects, and audio, and any reference images you have, as well as an asset list and a feature list. So right now I have a blank template up that I like to use that I created whenever I do pre-production. You can also find other examples that have like questions you're supposed to answer, etc., etc. But I'm going to start with our blank template just so you can see kind of the workflow for it. So our map is called DM Temple, which is an Unreal Tournament for, I'm going to do Team Deathmatch map. Now we have our game type. So you just describe the game type and what's going to be happening in the game. So the game type for a DM Temple is a fast-paced team deathmatch. Okay, players will spawn around. Okay, what else can we say with the game type? So the game type, it literally is just what's going on in the map, how the player's going to play it. The FPS, team deathmatch, or just deathmatch is pretty self-explanatory because by this point people know what's going on in it. If you say wanted to make an RTS, you talk about the RTS and the kind of you'd build up your bases, players would collect resources, build their armies, and then they'd fight. So that's what the game type paragraph's about. It's just what kind of game type is it, what are the players going to be doing, win conditions, things like that. The story is one of the more fun sections of this because every single map, every single level that you ever create needs a story, needs a reason to exist. Like, why are the players there? So for ours, since it's in an Egyptian-like temple, you could say a militarized So we're going to use the Iron Guard and the Necris. Okay, since we have a smaller map and for tutorial purposes, gonna leave the story there. It's just basically one faction has come to the temple. They've messed with some things, and it's called in the Necrus. Order it. There we go. Boom. And the Necrus want to take out the Iron Guard, and both sides want the artifacts that are found inside of the temple, which in the game space for a level would be like the invisibility power up and the UT damage power up, things like that. So we have we have the story for a map. What this narrative we've created now is we have militarized forces that are in the temple, so it makes sense for there to be some debris in different places, have access to different parts of the temple, including the power-ups, and it makes sense that both sides would be trying to kill and shoot at each other. So everything's coming together to make one cohesive large idea for the level. Why does it exist? Why are things there? Because if we had created a narrative that a family's on vacation in the temple and then they unearth zombies, we have a team deathmatch between two like military looking teams, then that makes no sense within the story. So that would not work well. Okay, so for the gameplay, you describe again more in detail of what the players are going to be seeing, what they're going to be doing, and you include a paper map, which we already created. Alright, so you include your paper map, and ideally, like, someone would download this, or you'd email it to whoever's on your team, and then since it's a Word document, you can just click on the map and expand it. There's no reason to have this paper map take up an entire page in your Word document. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so we have that. The gameplay. Both vertically. Movement. And features, yeah. Gameplay, okay. Mm-hmm. Exposed. Okay. So that's pretty decent. So gameplay again. You go into more specifics of what the players are going to be doing, and you can talk about what makes your map special, things like that, which I would put in the gameplay for for an FPS map, deathmatch map. You could also write about what makes your map different, the visuals, the effects, things like that. But for now, it's fun gameplay. That's what our map is based around. And since making our paper map in today, I've been looking at different types of architecture, and my wife and I have been on a road trip, and we stopped at a like a rest stop place, but it had like restaurants in it, so it wasn't exactly rest stop. But anyways, there's the men's bathroom was really interesting how the architecture was laid out, because it's kind of like almost the space that you walked in was almost like a Y. It was really interesting, and so I was been thinking about whether I could incorporate it into the level, and I might later on once we get into the geometry, but I'm not going to go back and fiddle with the paper map right now. And along those lines of inspiration of what could be changed, what could be improved upon, and things like that, is this thing about how I could incorporate custom blueprints to show you guys. Since this is going to be doubles as an Unreal Tournament 4 tutorial, and Kismet from Unreal Tournament 3 and UDK was replaced by blueprints, which are super awesome for various reasons, but I'll get into that in a later video. I was wondering what I could do with the blueprints, and there's an older game called Aliens vs. Predator, and there's one multiplayer map that takes place in a temple, in a Predator temple, and every so often some of the walls will move, and it makes the map more dynamic. And so I thought about doing something like that, but in relationship to how kind of open I made our paper map, I don't know if it'd work like that, because the temple map in Alien vs. Predator is really, really close quarters, and it's just a whole bunch of hallways pretty much. The entire map is just hallways. So I don't know if it could exactly work, but I do have an idea related to that, and I'll see if I can get it to work, or if it would work out when we actually get into Unreal Tournament 4, when we get into the Unreal editor. But for future proofing, my idea revolves around having some moving chambers related to the power-ups on the map, like the invisibility, and having that section blocked off, but the walls would lower as time went on in the map, or they would move, so there'd only be sections of the map you could use in order to get to it. So something like that, but I'll keep thinking about it. I digress. So on to the visuals, effects, and audio. Visuals, GoldenEye, dark, where the scenes there. Okay, this makes sense. What are they called? So really, you just want to talk about the specific visuals, kind of look and feel of what the map's going to be like. Same thing with the effects and the audio, just kind of like what I wrote out. And everything I've created so far and written up in this Word document is kind of the basic level. You can get in a lot more detail than I have in the past. If you want to see some more text-heavy game docs that really go in depth, you can check out some of my other work on my professional portfolio at derekcynics.com. And I would suggest checking out the Pocket Full of New Yen, the RPG campaign that I made. It's located in the level design tab, as well as the Kerrigan's campaign that I created for StarCraft 2, which is also in the level design tab. And those have much more content and explanation inside of them. It might be more helpful if you're stuck on what to write about for your game type story and gameplay and visual effects audio sections. But from here, what we have next are any reference images what we used in order to get inspiration or create our paper map, things like that. So, for instance, here's an Alien vs. Predator. A temple, I use this reference image. Okay, or not. I'll add that later once I download and save it and things like that. And then here's the perfect dark temple level. Even, man, the ceiling is way too high. And I totally forgot that the ceiling was really that high. It's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna push this. Yeah. Just so the assets go on the next page. And then copy. This looks like GoldenEye, yeah. This is the Steam version of GoldenEye, though. Because they're so fancy. Okay, boom. Alright, alright, alright. Okay. So those are good reference images. Also, there's one. Where is it? There's one that has like drop down holes. Because I swear, yeah, it's like this one. Though that kind of looks like death holes, but it kind of illustrates the point. Might just use this one. This one looks better. Because it includes some like hieroglyphs and stuff like that, which is nice. It's so beautiful. Okay, and then lastly but not least, give credit where credit is due. This one. This is the first image I started with. So far, all of my reference images, it really got this sandstone yellowish hue color going for it all over the place. I'm really going to have to take a look at what the assets are available as far as static meshes and textures go inside of Unreal Tournament 4. I know there's a marketplace, which I'll get into later as well. But we might just end up just having a white boxed or gray boxed level for this because Unreal Tournament 4 and there's not a ton of assets that are free. They release for it right now. And there's nothing I don't think that I want to make as far as assets or features. But for the asset list, this would be like any 3D models you would want to make or custom texture that you would make. And so you just write its name. The priority is like high, medium, or low, and whether it's completed or not. And then the feature list are like the feature list is like the programming assets that you're going to be doing. So for instance, in Unreal 4, it'd be the different blueprints that you write that you have to take care of. Other engines, like if you're using Unity, it would be the C# or C++ scripts or Bootstrap, JavaScript, because Unity can handle a lot. It'd be the specific programming scripts that you're doing here. So for instance, the Los Malditos map that I created, one of the features was that opening and closing death floor door that I programmed using Kismet in order to open and close automatically and have text appear and have a noise play when it opens. So that would be a feature list, or like in the Pocket Full of Nguyen or the Kerrigan's campaign, all the triggers that had to deal with tracking the goals or the objectives on the map, things like that. That would be the feature list. So in short, asset list, art, feature list, programming. Then just you'd write the name in this category, its priority, and whether it's complete or not. So right now we have our completed game document for our deathmatch temple level. Everyone should feel proud. And unlike what I did, which was not save it at all, what you should do is save it as you're working in case something bad happens. And you don't have to redo everything. And I'll leave you guys with this. Hope you enjoyed. I had fun writing this, even though I did it as fast as I possibly could just to get through this, to give everyone an idea of what your game doc should look like in the end. And the next thing I would move on to would be setting a milestone schedule. However, I'm not going to actually do that since I'm making these videos as part of a tutorial series, and I don't want to set myself to a strict schedule just because it's a tutorial series. But the next video, I'll show you an example of a milestone schedule and go over that. And then we'll hop into the actual editor. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and or subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.